With South Africa's national elections about 2 years away, the political landscape and recent events have opened up a public discourse on which government should take the National Assembly in 2024. Political strategist and commentator Brutus Malada writes that a government of national unity awaits in 2024 and that the president is unlikely to be from the ANC. Malada further emphasizes that the burning question now is who, between John Steenhuisen, Julius, Malema and Herman Mashaba, would you trust as your next president? He joins us now via the telephone to talk about this and more. Brutus, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. What is it about the current political climate that has you thinking that perhaps in 2024 we might end up with a government of national unity?
First, if you check the performance of the ANC over the past 3 elections, you'd realize that it is on a downward trend and losing electoral support at the margin of 8 to 10%. So that would mean that the ANC would be under 50% in the coming elections if that trajectory is to continue. Secondly, in the run-up towards 2021 elections, you would have realized that there's been a lot of infighting within the ANC, people wrestling each other for positions in the list. And that continues to be, there continues to be disunity and factionalism in the ANC, which is eroding the credibility of the ANC in the public. So my sense is that the ANC is losing hegemony, but the parties like the EFF and the DA and the new kid in the block, HNSA, will actually gain support as we have seen over the past elections. So the fact that the ANC no longer dominates the metropolitan areas is a harbinger of what is to come in 2024. So all of these developments have said to me that we could be witnessing the transition that happened in 1994 repeating itself now in 2024. Given the electoral support that the ANC is losing and the growth of the opposition parties.
Now, in your article, Brutus, you've drawn parallels between, events leading up to the 1994 elections and the present political climate. Then, of course, post-elections, the ANC enjoyed an overwhelming majority and were given the mandate to govern the South African people in this new democracy. Fast forward 28 years later, the South Africa that we face now, neither of these political parties, the DA, the EFF, or Action SA, would enjoy a similar overwhelming majority or be given a similar mandate. So how are South Africans to contest with something like that?
Yeah, look, 2016 gave us a possibility that it is possible to have a government without the ANC in the metros. 2021 gave us the very same results, having a coalition government in the mega metros. So I think the South African public is showing that there is an appetite to vote for other political parties other than the ANC. And what we are likely to see is that trajectory continuing in the coming national elections. Look, you need to win Gauteng, KZN, and maybe 2 other provinces for you to govern South Africa. The ANC is hanging on a thread in Gauteng. It's highly likely that the ANC will be under 45% here in Gauteng. In KZN, the IFP is gaining ground, and other opposition parties like the DA. And the ANC is currently in disarray. So if the ANC loses KZN and if the ANC loses Gauteng, it will be possibly under 50% nationally. Now all the opposition parties will gang up against the ANC and form a coalition without it. So they will wrestle the ANC out and form a government on their own. The danger for any party that will associate with the ANC come 2024 is that they will be putting the ANC through the back door against the will of the people who have rejected the ANC overwhelmingly. So there will be no party that will get a 50+1 to govern on its own. It will be a combination of votes from different parties coming together, gaining up against the ANC.
Well, another element, Brutus, and what one may argue is contrary to what happened during the 1994 elections is the fact that, you know, we saw last year, in last year's local government elections, the voter apathy, the general voter apathy amongst a lot of South Africans. You know, the low voter turnout was a point of discussion for a number of analysts and political commentators such as yourself. How is that likely to factor in the 2024 elections? You know, given the fact that in 1994, I mean, it was completely different. People came out in their numbers to cast their vote. This was not the same scenes that we saw last year.
Yes, there was enthusiasm in the 1994 elections. There was optimism about the future. Currently, as we are running towards 2024, there is anger and despair and hopelessness as a result of the misgoverning by the ANC. Now, that anger is what will also fuel people to want to seek change. Look today, ESCOM, look state capture. People have no water, no electricity. Everywhere, people are complaining about the challenges of service delivery. Now, my sense is that the political parties, the DA, the EFF, HNSA, and others, it's their challenge now to actually make people aware that for them to stay away and not vote, they will be perpetuating the status quo, which is the corruption and the lack of service delivery that we have seen over the past 28 years. So it is up to the citizenry itself to stand up. And I think that this anger and despair will translate into a view from the public that says we want to teach the ANC a lesson. So we might witness that there might not be the very same optimism that we witnessed in 1994, but I think a lot of people have realized that it is possible to have a government without the ANC. So my sense is that the political parties will mobilize support for people to go out and vote differently this time around.
Now, in your article, you posed the question, Brutus, who would South Africans trust as their next president? And you proffer up a field of options, including the DA's John Steenhuisen and the EFF's Julius Malema. Have these opposition parties done enough to convince the South African electorate to swing votes in their favor in the upcoming general elections?
They have not done enough. Hence, they have been struggling to wrestle the ANC out of power for the past 20-something years. But if you look at the three characters that I've mentioned, the general public will have to introspect and say, among the three, who do we trust the most? And I think that the person that stands a chance of gaining that trust from the public, it is actually Herman Mashaba. He might not get the majority vote as compared to the other two parties. But as for the public trust, his role in the city of Johannesburg as a mayor and the fact that he comes from business and he has no corruption scandal whatsoever might put him in good stead as a person who can be trusted. Julius Malema, there are aspersions against him regarding Limpopo government that collapsed, having to be put under administration. You have got BBS that is associated with the looting that happened there. So the public might not have that trust.
Brutus?
We also have a challenge of polarization of races in South Africa, and I don't think that South Africans are ready to have a white person as a president currently. So between the three, my sense is that Herman Mashaba stands a better chance to become the presidential candidate that can oversee the coalition that will emerge in 2024. And also he comes with the experience of having managed a coalition in the city of Johannesburg.
An element that we haven't discussed, Brutus, for the upcoming elections is, of course, the introduction of independent candidates and a lot of the electoral reform that is supposed to be happening in the lead up to that, being able to introduce independent candidates. How much of a disrupting force is that likely to have in the outcome of those elections?
Well, I'm telling you, honestly, it will be minimal because for as long as we don't have a presidential election, if we still continue with the parliamentary elections, the independent candidates stand no chance. So here's the thing. You will get elected as an independent and go to parliament, but parliament will be the one that will need to vote for a president. So without the support of the political parties that are there, as an independent, you will not be able to garner support. So my sense is that the independents will not make that impact to change the political landscape in South Africa come 2024, unless if the electoral reform happens to the extent that we have a presidential election. Perhaps someone can stand up who would, a person like Patrick Motsepe, for instance, standing up and saying, I'm available, and people vote for him as a presidential candidate. Without that, the independents stand no chance.
Brutus, thank you so much. We'll leave it there. Thank you for your insights. So that Brutus Malada, political analyst and political commentator, talking to us there about his written piece on the fate of the 2024 national election.